Hello, hello, hello. Let's see if we can get anyone to join me uh, on this live. I want to talk about this film uh, because I did a video on Sinners for my Professor Cinephile page. You should definitely go check that out, Professor Cinephile. Um, and I was talking about it, and I love that there's such a wonderful discourse about it. Actually, um, let me go on Instagram as well. Give me a few seconds, everybody, to get my life together. One of these days, I'm gonna actually um, figure out how to have all of this start at one time, but that day is not today. In part because I'm high. It's kind of what I do. All right, let's see. Welcome, everybody. Get comfortable, get comfortable, get comfortable. Um, so I did do a video. Um, oh, you saw it this afternoon? Oh, I love it. You know what? I've seen it twice. I kind of want to go and see it again. Um, I was just so moved by it in so many ways. Hold on. Why is this? Oh, 'cause the YouTube is on. I'm like, why do I have an echo? All right. So, all right. Oh, what is on my face? All right, so I did do a whole review of it, and I did not include everything in that review. My review was over an hour long, and so I I didn't include everything. There were a lot of things that I was thinking about, a lot of things I was thinking about, and I've been watching the discourse on social media. Let me just let Instagram know if they want to join. I'm going to send a link. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat too if you want to join me on the stage. Um, join me to discuss. Because why not? So Sinners, I think that one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is that some people are going out of their way to either ignore or reject some of the messaging there. Now, part of this, what I've been noticing is that part of this is that a lot of people aren't as into vampire lore as maybe some others. You all, if you follow my Professor Cinephile work, you know that horror and blaxploitation are my favorite genres of film. So I'm often thinking about um, vampires and werewolves and things like that. Um, but I don't want people to discuss this film without considering the vampire aspect or why the vampires were chosen, right? Um, if you think about vampires and what they do, someone was in my replies and brought up some really great things that I don't think a lot of people consider. Like vampires don't turn everyone. Like I think that's we have to start with that place. Like vampires don't turn everyone. Turning someone is a mutual exchange in some ways, but it's a two-step process, right? So vampires definitely drain the life out of people, um, and then they decide if they're going to give life, immortal life, to people. You can't skip that part, right? Because then we have to think about the ways in which the vampires chose who they wanted to turn, right? And I would have liked a little more to see who they didn't turn, right? So we were left to assume that everyone that was in the juke who had left, right, because they were told to leave or whatever, we're assuming that all of those people were turned, right? We don't necessarily know that. So when we think about the intention, okay, so first of all, vampire lore is very sexy. Generally, vampires turning people and that whole exchange of them giving them life It's a very sensual act. It's got a lot of sexual overtones. If you look at films, anything written by Anne Rice about vampires, even Dracula, I mean, kind of the original story. Um, Vampire in Brooklyn. Like, I mean, I just feel like there's so many different ways, but vampires turning people is often seen as a sexual act. This is why I think the discourse around Mary is short-sighted. A lot of people are blaming her, and of course, I expect people to blame women without even considering the fact that Ryan Coogler does not want women to be like depicted in negative ways in this film. Um, we don't like Grace, but that went beyond her being a woman. Perhaps let's put a pin in that. But the assumption that Mary is somehow the downfall of these men, I think it requires a lot more nuance than people are giving it. So if we see um, the act of turning someone as a sexual act, right? And we should all assume that vampires are inherently queer, right? Because they're not heterosexual in their turning of people. And it is an extremely intimate act. As somebody who occasionally wears fangs and bites people, it's quite the sensual act, right? So if we think about Mary, the person who is what would be called an octoroon at that time, meaning that she's 1/8 Black, at least. We don't hear much about her father. And whenever people talk about, like, she wasn't Black, she wasn't Black, I'm like, you guys don't understand African matriarchy. Now, I do. I wrote a whole dissertation that is based on the idea of African matriarchy. But you have to understand that Black people trace their lineage through their mamas. The mothers are the center of the community. That idea that a father legitimizes a family is a product of European patriarchy. That ain't who we are. So we don't hear much about her daddy, okay? But we know that she was a woman who was living a life passing as white, but didn't want to. And she risked coming home to the Mississippi Delta when her mama died, when so many others would never have. Would never have, right? That's part of it. I just finished reading The Yellow Wife. Um, and there's towards the end, I'm going to ruin it for you if you haven't read it, but one of her daughters has moved to Massachusetts. It's gone to school and things like that. She's involved with a white man. And in her letters, she basically says, I'm not going to be able to reach out to you anymore, Mama, because it's getting a little too difficult to do that, right? So kind of this acknowledgement that, like, if I'm going to exist in white society, I have to give up everything, including my mother. That is not something that people do easily, right? Mary came back for her mama's funeral. She risked a lot to come back. Again, having been settled into this white life that whether or not she wanted it doesn't really matter, but she did that. And so her coming back, she definitely understands her privilege, but she asserts herself as a Black woman. And something I need folks to understand, and I'm quoting my mentor, Dr. Malefi Asante, the man who coined and developed the concept of Afrocentricity. Blackness is not how you look. Blackness is how you show up in your community. And this resonates deeply with me for this understanding of Mary. Here's a woman who had access to all the privilege in the world. And at that time, trust and believe, we all, well, not all, but many of us got family members that decided to pass, to make life easier, right? And we don't hold them for that because we can't relate to what they experienced. So she comes back and she said, this is her family. This is where she wanted to be. When she has that scene, and this is build up to me getting back to the vampire thing, just stick with me real quick. When she has that scene where Stack and Sammy are at the, oh, somebody wants to come. Oh my God, somebody just came. I'm going to screenshot this, you guys. Look, there's somebody on my thing who just, He just came on my live and showed his dick, and he's got his face covered, and well, that's just and he's black. So of course it's a black man who comes onto my live and tries to come on my stage waving his dick. I just want you all to know that is a form of sexual assault and violence. And actually, I'm going to cut this live off. So you all take care. We'll talk about it another time.